and I don't think it's anywhere near on it. What if Feige resigned? What if Feige resigned?
Right.
And he went over to DC with James Gunn or something. I mean, look, I don't know. Crazy times we're living, guys. Again, like this video if you liked it. If you want to stay up to date on all this crazy nerdy stuff, subscribe to this channel. Subscribe to the live streaming channel where we live stream every day, Monday through Friday at 10:30 in the morning Eastern Standard Time. It's always a good time over there. And again, let me know your thoughts about this crazy situation in the comment section below. Coming at you with a Shang-Chi video later today, and hopefully a couple of videos over the weekend as well. As I always say, I hope you're having an awesome and nerdy day, and I'll see you in the next video. Sorry guys, I can't come to lunch. Did you use honey? You could have saved like so much money. You could have saved like... This time, I'm using the Honey browser extension. It applies coupon codes automatically and works in over 30,000 stores. Households in the U.S. are saving an average of over $100 per year. Let's try this. Guys, wait up, I'm buying it. There's no reason not to install Honey. You can do it just 2 clicks by going to joinhoney.com/YouTube.
Marvel Studios is set to release their next Disney Plus series after Marvel's What If this November. This being the upcoming Hawkeye series, which will run all the way into December, when we are going to get the book of Boba Fett, meaning that more than likely, Miss Marvel and other shows have been delayed, as insiders are suggesting. Well, yeah. So it was just a few weeks ago at this point, maybe a week ago, that Victoria Alonso, who is of course very important to Marvel Studios, she's the VP, came and talked about the Disney Plus slate.
Captain, you weren't there. You didn't hear the testimonies. The brain.
After the upcoming
No
What
one
If,
should have to live like
Marvel
this.
and the
On
upcoming
that, at
Hawkeye.
least we agree.
And then we got the
I've seen
releasing
what
of
happens when the
Hawkeye
people
coming
in
at
power
us at
decide
the end
who
of
deserves
November,
to live, Doc.
leading into December.
I'm not about to let history repeat itself.
The math.
Then don't force us to live through another heyday.
Right around Christmas.
I don't think you and I
And not
did,
if it
George.
shift release date
That's part of the
on
problem.
Wednesday, Friday or whatever. It doesn't matter. The it's probably not going to happen. Why? Because one, you're probably not double swapping episodes of movies on the same day. Two, you know that Book of Boba Fett is coming out. Marvel is going to be, as reports and insiders are suggesting, as the delay. Which, yeah, I mean, look at the math and how they have to go about it. Where are they going to put the series? Now, some people have said that maybe they're going to drop Miss Marvel in October leading into November. Why would they start the advertising for their next series after Miss Marvel, before Miss Marvel? Right? Because by that logic, you're only 2 months delayed from Miss Marvel, not 3 to 4 till Hawkeye. You guys get what I'm saying? So, that's not happening. Scenario here is that everything has been delayed as they're saying. But here's the thing: you can't delay She-Hulk or Moon Knight or Secret Invasion or whatever else because they don't have set release dates. So they're still figuring out the timing. Miss Marvel is the only one that's technically delayed, but in the public eye, they never been confirmed. They never had any like if Marvel Studios at the beginning of the year would have said we're going to drop Hawkeye in September and Miss Marvel in November, and then now they come out and go, hey guys, Hawkeye's member said it's Marvel coming to here quite often.
Found my way up.
That's a delay.
Here goes
But
nothing.
they can't delay something that never had a release date, because how do you delay something you never said was
Almost
coming
there.
out? Same thing with She-Hulk right now. She-Hulk.
Careful, Cap. I'm picking up strange electromagnetic readings in that tower.
Couldn't be this easy.
Give him hell, Cap. I'll join you when I'm finished here.
I'll do my best. Gotta get these guys. How are the rest?
I'm helping Black Widow kick butt. Focus on those butts, kid. Oh, right.
I've got Jarvis working on the best way to get all those people out of here.
Thank you.
No need. I was doing what I should have a long time ago.
Not bad, Tony.
Remember to tell Bruce about my brief moment of maturity?
You have ruined the moment.
Finish him off.
Change mobile app, I can pay my bill. Redeem rewards and cash back. Plus access deals where I shop. Bargain, baby. Oh, wow. Man, this thing does everything. Do more with Chase mobile app. Chase, make more for you. Before their deaths, the following actors make their marks as some of Marvel's most popular or famous characters. They left behind impressive bodies of work, with Hollywood being all the better for their contributions. These stars weren't just Marvel favorites, they built some of Hollywood's most distinguished careers. Ghostfac3 comes from a major show business family. His cousin was superstar George Clooney, and his parents were Oscar winner Jose Ferrer and 50s pop star Rosemary Clooney. David Lynch fans remember Ferrer as the opinionated FBI agent Albert Rosenfield on Twin Peaks. Ferrer also co-starred in the 1994 adaptation of Stephen King's The Stand, playing Randall Flagg's right-hand man, Lloyd Henry. Apart from his dozens of other TV guest star roles, Ferrer made memorable appearances in films including Traffic, Hot Shots Part 2, and RoboCop. But observant Marvel Cinematic Universe fans will remember him for his brief but important part in Iron Man 3. In the final entry of the trilogy, Ferrer played Rodriguez, the corrupt Mandarin connected vice president of the United States who tries to help assassinate President Matthew Ellis. Sadly, in January 2017, Ferrer died of cancer-related complications at the age of 61. When stand-up comedy boomed in the 1980s and early 1990s, tons of clubs popped up in cities. Cable networks filled out their programming day with shows like Improv and the HBO comedy Half Hour, and a ton of
The
joke
transmitter's
tellers.
power source is somewhere just above you.
Among them was
It
John
is.
Pinette, a gifted stand-up and impressionist. Pinette dedicated a lot of his act to making fun of himself. He toured and taped comedy specials extensively while also playing acting roles. After playing a high school coach on Parker Lewis Can't Lose, he appeared on Seinfeld, Dr. Katz Professional Therapist, and in 2000, he showed up as Mumbo in the ultra-violent film adaptation of the ultra-violent revenge comic Punisher, opposite Tom Street. Pinette brought comic relief to the otherwise dark movie as the easygoing character and the financial beneficiary of the Punisher's crusade. Tragically, in 2014, Pinette was found dead in a Pittsburgh hotel room, and a medical examiner ruled that he passed as a result of natural causes. Pinette was only 50. In 1969, Peter Fonda produced and starred in the hippie and counterculture classic biker movie Easy Rider, for which he received his first of 2 Academy Award nominations. The second came for 1997's Youth is Gold.
in which Fonda starred as a grieving beekeeper with a troubled family. In between, Fonda appeared in dozens of well-known movies, including The Last Movie, Cannonball Run, and Escape from LA. Fonda's role in Ghost Rider as Mephistopheles was among the last in a long, legendary career. In 2007, actor and avid comic book fan Nick Cage got his superhero franchise going with 2 Ghost Rider movies. Cage played Young Blade, a bounty hunter forced into service for the unholy demon played by Fonda. In 2019, Fonda passed away at age 79 due to lung cancer. Just before 2010, Irfan Khan got acting gigs in popular and acclaimed American and British films. He was a police detective in the Oscar-nominated Slumdog Millionaire, and he portrayed the adult version of the character Pi Patel, recalling his survival of shipwreck in the Oscar-nominated film Pi. Khan showed up as Dinosaur Park owner Simon Maserati in Jurassic World, and he also played Jonas Provost in Inferno. Fans of Andrew Garfield and Peter Parker will also recognize Khan from The Amazing Spider-Man, where he played Oscorp executive and scientist Dr. Rick Rata. As a prolific television actor, Khan broke through to the A-list of Indian cinema in the 2000s, won numerous accolades for his work in Life in a Metro, Hasil, and Han Singh Tomar, which won him a National Film Award for Best Actor. Shockingly, in 2018, Khan announced that he had been diagnosed with a neuroendocrine tumor following a hospitalization in Mumbai for an infection in 2020. The superstar died at age 50. In 2008, Iron Man became the first Marvel Cinematic Universe entry, but the modern history of movies based on Marvel Comics characters goes back to 1986 with the critically reviled box office flop Howard the Duck. Protagonist Howard is involved in everything sci-fi, including the cosmos itself, personified and voiced by veteran actor Richard Kiley.
The cosmos. Countless worlds upon worlds.
Kiley was a decorated actor, appearing in shows like Hawaii Five-0 and Columbo, and won 4 Emmy Awards and 2 Tony Awards, including one for Man of La Mancha. Kiley died in March 1999 of a blood disorder. He was 76 years old. As one of film and TV's most prolific, intense, and versatile character actors, it's hard to say exactly which role is the one for which Reggie Cathy is best known. It might be Warden Martin Kearns on the harrowing prison drama Oz, or political organizer Norman Wilson on The Wire, or barbecue joint proprietor Freddie Hayden on House of Cards, which won Cathy an Emmy Award for Outstanding Guest Actor in a Drama Series. Cathy also played more than one role in multiple Marvel franchises. In the 2015 Fantastic Four reboot, he portrayed Dr. Franklin Storm, father of superhero Sue and Johnny Storm. Cathy also starred in Netflix Marvel Cinematic Universe adjacent series Luke Cage, in the role of James Lucas, a pastor and the father of Luke. In February 2018, Cathy died at his New York City home from lung cancer, according to the New York Times. Cathy was 59. Dr. Wesley Von Spears appeared briefly in both Guardians of the Galaxy films. He didn't have any lines, but he was memorable just the same because Von Spears is a dog. In Guardians of the Galaxy, the pup portrayed a holographic dog. And in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, he played the part of a dog in the back of truck at Dairy Queen. Landing a role in Hollywood is sometimes about who you know, and nepotism definitely played a part in Von Spears' casting since he was the pet of Guardians writer-director. The dog's influence on Marvel movies is more than just a truthfully, a lot of Groot is based on my dog, Von Spears. I think there's a sort of puppy-like innocence to Groot, that if my dog could talk, it would probably say, I am Groot. Dr. Wesley Von Spears died at age 17 in February 2020. Gunn briefly delayed filming on his next film, The Suicide Squad, to fly home and keep his dog in his final moments. Check out one of our newest videos right here. Plus, even more super videos about your favorite Marvel movies are coming soon. Subscribe to our YouTube channel and hit the bell so you don't miss a single one.
Fuck this!
Mind over matter.
Looks like the transmitter is powered by 3 cores. Take these guys out, and I'll get you a terminal to open their housing units.
Copy that. This is it.
How many of these guys are there?
Our cause is just. The number doesn't matter.
Funny, kind of feels like it matters.
How's it going there, Cap?
Just cleaning a bit. This is gonna hurt.
Got you a terminal. Open the cores, destroy them, and the signal should die. And no more Inhumans
This
will.
episode is sponsored by Squarespace. Build your online presence and run your business with Squarespace. What is up, Solo Cubs? My name is John Solo, and this video is going to disappoint a lot of you. Not only because you have to look at my face for more than half of it, but also because I'm going to keep on one of the most common misconceptions in all the local misconception that maybe caused you to click on this video in the first place. I'm of course referring to
We can come out of this with our humanity intact, Captain.
Don't get me wrong.
You and I have very different definitions of
Honestly, it was a
humanity.
word trip.
Doesn't he know you can't spell inhuman without the human part?
Problem is, I didn't get the honor
Oh, the giant brain genius got schooled by a teenager.
It's irresponsible, and how would you trust anything else I say going forward if I just parroted a fact that was demonstrably false? So here's what I'm gonna do. After I break down the absurdity of what the Ring Around the Rosie game even is, different versions of it from around the world, and its rise in popularity in recent centuries, I'll explain why the plague theory is so far-fetched, as well as a much more likely origin story that I like to call the Footloose theory. Yeah, this episode is going to be one for the books, so I highly advise you stick around until the end. Before we dive in though, I've got to pay off this new camera and lighting system, so let me say thanks to this week's sponsor, Squarespace. Anyone who's watched this channel for a while knows that I love Squarespace, not just because of the service they provide, but how valuable that service really is. Because without Squarespace, creators like you, me, and countless others would have no choice but to spend a heap of money building our own websites. Thankfully, Squarespace makes the process affordable and easy. They have a huge library of beautiful templates to get started, and customize each of those however you see fit. Say you're a musician who wants to show off your music. Go ahead and build a playlist of it. Or maybe you're a painter. Why not show some artwork in a gallery and guide you with fan art on messeduporigins.com? Speaking of, if you want to see an example of what a fully fleshed out Squarespace site can look like, check out messeduporigins.com. I've got a list of my favorite resources on there, a page where you can download assets,
2 days if the lettuce hold up.
and a link to my merch store so you can pick up some sick
Like,
bits
for real.
I'm wearing now. And what may just be my favorite feature of all is that I built that entire website within my internet browser. Squarespace never requires its users to download, patch, or install anything onto their devices. It really makes the entire building experience so much less stressful. So if you've heard enough and want to give Squarespace a shot, go to squarespace.com/JohnSolo to sign up for your free trial. Then when you're ready to open up shop, gallery, or whatever you're building, use code JohnSolo to get 10% off your first purchase. And we're back. Wasn't that quick and painless? On to the content you came for. Then make sure to hit those like and subscribe buttons if you haven't already. And now, the messed up origins of Ring Around the Rosie. So I think the best place to start this long-winded explanation is a question. What is Ring Around the Rosie? Yes, it's a simple question. Some of you might even say a stupid question, because who doesn't know what Ring Around the Rosie is? But for me, it's one of those questions where as soon as I start answering it, I realize I sound like an insane person. So for the 6 of you who don't know, Ring Around the Rosie is a children's game where a group of 2 or more join hands, spin or dance in a circle while singing a little rhyme, and at the end of the rhyme, everyone bows, curtsies, or falls to the ground. The rhyme we sang where I grew up went like this. Ring around the rosy, a pocket full of posy. Ashes, ashes, we all fall down. You can probably guess what we did at the end. Why did we find that fun? I have no idea. Probably because we were kids, and kids are stupid. But that doesn't mean it. Ring around the rosy belongs to a larger category. ride, but sometimes with an additional step or two. For example, the slowest child to bow, curtsy, or fall down at the end may be faced with a penalty of some kind, or have to take their place in the center of the ring, making them the Rosie, or whatever object the lyrics are about. Because believe it or not, there were ring games with completely different lyrics than the one I just sang. I honestly don't know if any of them are used anymore, but here are some examples. The king has sent his daughter to fetch a pail of water. Asha, Asha, all bow down. The wedding bells are ringing. The boys and girls are singing. Asha, Asha, all fall down. Red stockings, blue stockings, shoes tied up with silver, a red rosette upon my breast, and a gold ring on my finger. Before you even ask, no, I'm not looking into the origins of any of those. I've got my hands full enough with just this one. First time they were in print. Now, I can look at my argument. Now, like pretty much everything that's on the channel, whether it's folklore, ancient myths, or nursery rhymes, you never know exactly when this song was created, because people in the past were trying not to die to write everything down. That being said, we can't go trace back 100 years where it's published in both America and England. The earliest description variation of the crown of lyrics were found in a book called Old Homestead. All you really need to know about the book is the for farm life and what there's a significant place on 4th of July, but the protagonist was that some girls were putting rain roses in the lyrics, which are quite a bit different and still have a resemblance to the modern version we all know go like this. A rain of roses, laps full of posies, awake, awake, now come and make a ring of roses. As you can see, very similar, but just different enough to be totally familiar. Ring of roses? Thought then, Saint worshiper, where I come from, you see ring about Rosie? Stop, son. About 26 years after the Old Homestead was published, it's way in a very limited first collection titled Mother Goose, or being thirsty on it. Ring of roses. Pocket full of posies. Hush, 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 hush. All of that. Now we're getting a little bit closer. For a while, different nonsense were like the fish. That's something you should keep in mind for next section of Now, when it comes to our final variant, just about the one we're discussing, just others, the last time this was published, there's probably the first modern version, as we all know, collected by William Wells Newell. The lyrics are as follows. Ringo, Ringo Rose, a bottle full of posies. All the girls in our town ring for little news. Yeah, I have no idea what will be spoken, but that's the version recorded in the songs of American children. The reason I want to mention it is because now we can be back in the 1790s. Strangely, the portion that it's the first time melody was breaking down. It was about 1700s when he said, or closer to when he released his book 800 years later. It's pretty incredible how little the tune has changed over the years. I don't know where to sell it, but it's especially after how many nursery rhyme collections I just can't believe that a song posted like
They are super strict. I didn't try to get this out. Them on
From the
and I
excavation
know
site.
fellas.
The heat signal I saw on A-Day. It caused the earthquake. Whatever's behind those walls, MODOK doesn't want us to eat.
Got bigger problems.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they don't go for that shit.
Did you just swear? What's that swear?
Tony, a little busy right now.
I've been the first or second outbreaks of bubonic plague in Europe.
Good. Then meet me up ahead.
preventative measures to combat it, and of course, death. Now, for those of you who've never heard the plague theory, let me give you a few examples of the model, which ironically is almost exclusively to the modern variant, and not many people have been written closer to when the plague actually happened. Around the world, this line references the round red rash that was a symptom of the plague. This one has a few different interpretations. Some say it's because the dead were buried in flowers.
1,700 a
Others
week.
claim people carried posies to overpower the stench of death. And still
You
others
talking like 34 every 2 weeks? Well, that's like working on a commercial bars line. Now, the only thing about working on a commercial bars line is you get paid like anywhere from $150 to $280 a day.
Yeah. Sick with Black Death. In fact, sneeze, that wasn't necessarily a sign they were on death. Sneeze for all kinds of reasons. I sneeze when a bright light shines.
What you thinking, Cap?
I ain't going
The beacon must have been a decoy. Somehow Tarleton still transmits.
Yeah, that's like commercial bars line.
Against the unstoppable tide of progress, Avengers.
He's just got a whole lot
Like I said, one thing about the bars, one is dangerous. Two, even though you get paid, and that's in your first 9 days, 180 to 200, 150 to $280 a day.
Avengers. No more ships make it out of the quarantine zone. Tony, take out those thrusters.
Thought you'd never. Come on, George, you're killing innocent people.
Yeah, like.
Gone up after the plague ended. Let me clarify. No one throughout history ever wrote a single word about the rhymes to the plague until 1952, 2 years ago. The very first time that you were ever connected in writing research, plague, fire, 360 states. Matter of fact, with no supporting evidence that the rhyme was inspired by the where he heard this idea was still don't know. Because like I said, it's still a story and one folklore before 1964, and they got down to the margins of their notebook. That means that children would head to the crop rows of 100 meters without anyone knowing what the hell they're talking about. Before this came around and we scouted this list of
Like working for yourself, or you know what I'm saying?
Or is it just this one singular version that must have been written down from the 1900s? I mean, right now, it's actually going on one explanation next to the line with the play, and that shows me thought I just want the evidence was all laid out.
Hey, that was, and you be telling me about this shit. That's it. Really, babe. First day you straight, really, babe.
Well, he does go to sleep that one scene, so it makes perfect sense.
Barely.
So if the play is off, are the words going around the roads? Well, when it comes to some of the big theories, besides the one I mentioned earlier, is the nonsense song that kids sang when playing a game. It doesn't mean anything because they didn't need it to, and it's stuck around to this day because it was easy to remember. To reiterate, that's why there are literally dozens of variants, the majority of which are catchy. It might not be coherent, but as unsatisfying as it is that I can't tell you what the song means, I think that what led to its creation, and I call it the Footloose theory. Remember those 3 games I mentioned earlier? Yeah, I bet you wish you didn't see the head now. Well, those 3 games where the kids dance in a circle and sing until they fall down or trade places or whatever were actually a byproduct of the constant ban on dancing here in America, because for some reason God doesn't want you to dance. And that just gotta stay there. If God doesn't like dancing, I want to go to hell.
Damn, God don't like dancing. I want to go to hell. Damn.
Well, here's the thing. Even back in the 1830s, a lot of people
felt the same way as me about the dancing thing. They thought the church was overreaching a little by not just banning dancing, but banning any kind of music, including social gatherings. This is so the way parents and their children were able to get
Well,
around
in
this.
Islam, to be fair, Islam they don't really get into music, so not too far. Say it's distracting and chanting people.
Bingo, of course, ring around the roast. Yes, these songs are used before the band's complete. The band's likely contributed to their explosion in popularity. And depending on how far along the timeline you want to go, this video being made. And that's basically buy into the workers theory, which I do. But listen, because I and actual folklore experts think the Blade theory is trash, doesn't mean you enjoy it and hope it's true. When it comes down to it, no one alive today was around in the 1700s when the song appears to have emerged, so we're never going to know for sure. I would only ask that you were to hear the Blade theory with someone in the interest of not spreading this information. There's no reason to lie. Then you can tell them the book is here. No, it's not as dark, but I bet it gets a laugh. Or at the very least, a surprise to the fall. Anyway, that's Solo Man. Messed up origins of Ring Around the Roast. Before you go, though, I've got about 11 things. First, make sure you comment your thoughts about what we talked about today down below. Here, you look forward to it. Get it with your own. Honestly, after learning about the Avengers, play games, play parties, guys me in all of the original Ring Around the Roast. This will literally create at a play party while the kids were singing and dancing in a ring around the roast. Where else did the lyrics come from? Andre Fraser, you know? When you're through with your comment, be sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Dave Box, support the channel, and come on, you made it this far. If you enjoyed the video or you hated it, you're a masochist. Either way, I think I deserve a boost in my engagement.
Wasn't me,
And
man.
then, when you realize you've taken enough Messed Up Origins content, follow me on Twitter and Instagram where I email the repost also an open if you want a backup way of being notified when I upload. I will see you all again next week with the long-awaited Disney edition of the Messed Up Origins tier list. Until then, my name is John Solo. Do not forget John Shepard.
Alright, so mind your academia has referred with it. We have another chapter targeting our landline blast. That's similar to ever spring decade. Here's one. His perspective, not before the code. Every resource available to them. Never seen before. Still, they would break free from every life that's happened. However, he would have his knife moved through one of the tears as something rationally I know right in my Shoto that was bigger. These guys are in the end, they refuse to let them live like this alone anymore. This little chapter nearby we can Shura, this little girl, and Oyama, and the dictator of Never and following Bakugo Todoroki over. But after him, Hiroshima broke out ice or transform. Never from here would immediately recognize the villain and make the point that he's not like and that they were the one to confirm the anti-Semitism of all the Hawks and the others. And just then, people who Hawks after the best or with the resolution. And he wasn't wrong about that at all. That he was so tired of this.
Wasted effort. It will make no difference. Inhumanity is a blight on this earth.
I'll take it. Everyone fan out. Buy me some time.
Monica, they contaminated me with your blood, Captain Walker. Lead me to the thing I hate the most. I'm willing to part with them now. Good of all.
Up the power coming off that thing on his back.
Maybe if you take out his main thruster.
Good call. That might give me a window.
Right now, possibility that furthermore his chance to attack after all the time, after all the searching, and who is not able to find the guy who perhaps he could instead of stay by his side.
I want you to die, Rogers. I just wanted the world to not need you.
It's not about need. It's about hope.
Then I hope the world is a better place after everything I've done.
I think that ship sailed, pal.
Causing that and more than anything, this was a battle.
Take out that power source.
Monster here. And I'm not wrong.
Here's an energy boost.
More to go. The power is way out of his depth. But as they however, this is not actually meant to be rather it's correct. And among this would be super low. Flash on the
I'm out of the fight.
never thought his power was all that would actually was that even when he were just slightly shaking their fear, he still found a way to lead them to victory. Taking all the way back to the said that Victor would have to close his eyes and all the time. And that's where on the top as he there his feet and prepared a combination of jaded black all 100% and achieve one for all 100%. Rock will fall downward. Before, but captured, and they were prepared to save him. Before she could say anything else, his eyes lifted and rush off, cutting her off with a sentence. Talking about Rock will then all of everyone else and all prepared to was a virtually non-delivered acid man that clear runs others, and the rest of them all work together like 206 employees to get this crazy done. No, they all had so much fun doing them, and for me it is pretty crazy that they did all of this just to keep up with the guy. And they end up being clear at this point. They're not even playing the same game. There's a game still they weren't secretly protected by it. And they could not entire team embarked on the journey alongside him. At this point, Bakugo felt as he soared upward, there was just so much he wants to know. This guy, Bakugo wants to say that he's so pressure that he hasn't already heard. And I mean, he wants to apologize for all the past times, what have you. But is this exactly the right time? I don't know. Regardless of this, once the body could stand this sort of scheme upon them was needed. And again, having a shot of the sensor as Ito would grab hold of the in mid-air and go for that contact will absolutely fall apart at this point. And I mean, that collision is hysterical.
Attack formation!
No way to control it. As Ito would that landing, that pretty much stuck with say that he can help his hero where at the end of the long time he said that he adopted from the brother and this is what makes a true hero. He said to me,
end this, Carlton!
Don't call me that. I am Modok.
But I'm now at that was the chapter. Guys, all very easy. They all should be care about that. So they bring all of them to chapter 5. And we will then all go on to work together in the comes together shows how far they've grown as a like, when this happens, our work becomes a keeping up with that kind of keeping called higher class mind, trying to hold a candle to sauce and death. And imagine if you was actually seeing it would be a whole different story that's being done in a couple of panels at that. So they would like to decide sounds so ridiculous. And I'm talking about
He's down. Assemble on me. Nat, move in.
Right behind you.
Not meant for comfort.
Options, people.
On
my way.
As soon as you've got enough power, blast him.
The shield will fall. Understood.
Video and I'll armor.
Lightning.
Follow us on Instagram at @101. And join my direction here and as well. At rightsub.com, which we have in the description below. And this is not a partnership. We sought out ourselves to one business before the channel. Right for 30 years now, and it truly has some of the best people on the world. Anywhere on the world. And so
This may shock you.
some of the best like content on the platform for armor. And as you know, as always, I'm so talking about so much for watching. Have an awesome day. Video is brought to you by you. Humans eat a lot of pigs. Over 1.4 billion pigs are slaughtered each year in the world pork industry. But as popular and as tasty as pork might be, pork contains polarizing topics of religion. That's the thought of eating pig because they follow a religious concept. A religious dietary prohibition on pork comes into contact with pork and pork. Islam and Islam are probably the most famous examples of religious pork prohibitions, but some branches of Christianity ban eating pork too, such as the Eritrean and Ethiopian Orthodox churches, as well as the Seventh-day Adventists. Judaism, the prohibition is found in the Bible, Leviticus chapter 11, verse 7. The pigs are unclean animals that should never be eaten, but that other mammals are fine as long as they have close hooves and good cut, like a cow or sheep. This is one of the rules that follows of their diet. Muslims and others have been following pork prohibition for centuries. But where did the prohibition come from? Since it's going for the archaeology of pork life. Let's start by going way back in time. Since have been consuming for thousands of years. Long before the dawn of agriculture during the Paleolithic period, we hunted wild boar. This is when hunter-gatherers exploited natural landscapes to survive, following edible plants and animals in seasons. Once humans settled down and started to grow their own food by the around 9700 BC, they also began to raise wild pigs as an efficient species. I say efficient because when it comes to managing herds, domesticated pigs have certain pigs breed quickly and produce many more piglets than wild boars. They also breed fast and sexually mature only in a span of 12 months. These characteristics mean that a lot of pigs can be raised within a single year, providing a stable and relatively reliable solution. Moreover, pigs are very independent in their farming. They're often a lot of waste produced by humans, like waste and animal extras. In other words, pigs help to clean up after humans like to use their trash. Thus, they're very useful to have in urban areas, which can build up and spread disease if it's not managed. So, raising pigs in the city is actually an incredibly efficient way to get rid of fat while also fattening up a herd. Pigs have some drawbacks that which have been pointed by some scholars and archaeologists who study animal bones in order to understand the relationships between humans and animals. We'll do that very shortly. The landmark study in the late 90s developed a set of principles that help explain both the advantages and disadvantages of taking application from cultural
environment perspectives. Max Price, a geoarchaeologist on the topic, has recently updated this list based on new findings in his book, Evolution of a Taboo. Amazing book. If you really want to understand the topic, you'll find his book out there.
You don't understand. You can't help but hurt others.
Are not very mobile and don't need a master like that. It's like some ideal for raising inside a settlement or city. What is that? Trash.
Great century.
For pastoralist and nomadic lifestyle.
Cap, I'm getting the feeling that gem in his forehead isn't just to look pretty.
I think we've got bigger problems.
Yeah, on it. Lower socioeconomic status. Number 3, settlement. Starter in
Cannot win.
Partner to regulate with other domesticated animals for 2 reasons. Sizes and they're drastic. Sometimes they have as many as 12 or 14 piglets, but it's often much less. Moreover, they don't produce secondary products like a milk, which are also valuable sources of taxes, institutional wealth, and pre-industrial societies. Thus, governments might encourage raising other animals like goats, sheep, and cows. And finally, health. Pigs carry disease and are susceptible to parasites like tapeworm that can be transmitted to humans. So how might these pig principles explain pork taboos in the ancient Middle East?
Come on, I need you.
So when and why did attitude turn against it? First of the last pig principle, health. For a long time it's been fashionable for the support taboos to take the guide to the tribes. Philosopher Maimonides argued that God banned pork because it was unreasonable for human consumption. The pig's habits and its food are thus the laws there protect. This ancient hygiene theory exploded in 1935 with the discovery of the parasite Trichinella spiralis, which causes the disease trichinosis. This is a roundworm that can cause diarrhea, vomiting, inflammation, and sometimes other serious complications like inflammation of the heart or lungs. These are a primary, though not exclusive, failure of the parasite, and can get into your system as the argument goes, the pork taboos must have been inspired by ancient attempts to encounter these parasites. There might be a kernel of truth in this argument, but archaeologists are not convinced. First, the biblical prohibition said nothing about health. As the archaeologist Max Price says, if the Israelite priests had somehow cracked the epidemiological code for trichinosis, why would they keep such a tight lid on their discovery? Why not write, now back to the pig for it to give you diarrhea? Like Second, this theory does not account for the fact that ancient civilizations worldwide relied on pork. The Greeks, Polynesians, China, everywhere pork is vital food. That undoubtedly helps the thrive. Any negative did not outweigh the positive that the extra source of protein provided to the industrial society. Remember, within 1 year, you can raise a pig from birth to your dinner table, also to your trash. And, as Price argues, there's no good explanation. Attempts to force fit the pig taboo functional as a framework. That'll differ in science from the available information. Archaeological and historical data points to a much more complicated origin, rooted in Bronze Age economics and Iron Age social dynamics. We'll start with the economics and then we'll get into the social dynamics. But first, speaking of efficient sources of protein, I want to thank the sponsor of this video, Noom. Noom is a new and different way to get healthy and achieve your fitness goals using psychological tools from the field of cognitive behavioral therapy. I don't know about you, but I'm notorious for yo-yoing between being super into fitness and being very health conscious. For 1 week, I'll do hiking every day and rock climbing, but then for the next 3 weeks, I'm sitting on my couch something and shopping for beers. And yes, that means shopping for beer, by Cistercian monks for a future video on monastery beer. Probably not the healthiest decision, but Noom is all about decision making. It's all about helping you learn why you make the decisions that you make and helping you learn how your mind works so that you can make small daily changes that lead to long-lasting change. Doom is a behavior change program. It offers daily lessons and food tracking functionality. It leverages psychology, personal privileges, and technology to help people live healthier lives. To get started on your personalized Doom program, click on the link in the description below to take your I found people's neural function most helpful. So let's say you're living like a Neolithic human that we were just talking about in the first half of this video, and you just eat 1 pound of wild boar. So you just go to log your meals, morning snack, alright, type in wild boar, amount. Alright, so calories, and done. You can also track your water and fitness goals too. So if you have fitness and health goals that you're trying to achieve, then you can go there. 30 seconds. Thanks. With that, back to Ford. So to get a better understanding of the cultural attitude towards pigs, let's jump forward in time to the millennium in the Bronze Age. The story of the pork heaven is a story of the steady decline of the pig's popularity from the early Bronze Age to the late Bronze Age. According to archaeological surveys of the region, in around 4000 BC, people made up about 30-40% of the total livestock in some of these settlements in the region. By 3600 BC, it was about 16 to 30%, and by 1600 BC, bones at archaeological rare. Why the decline? The first explanation is economic. Like I said earlier, pigs are not conducive to wealth creation in society. Horses and donkeys, oh yeah, they are wealth generating. Same with cattle. People and then manure help to fertilize the crops, so they were essential to the economy. Plus, cattle, goats, and sheep all provide wealth-generating secondary products like milk and wool. Like grain, these commodities are equally stored and traded. Fuel the rise of the big Bronze Age institutions like temples and palaces in the 3rd and 2nd millennia BCE, both in Egypt and the Near East. Pigs don't have much going for them. They don't really fit into the Bronze Age economy. They're small, so they're not used to large-scale agriculture. They don't consider products except for bark, so and they're harder to tax than other livestock. It seems that over the course of the Bronze Age, started to dominate wealth-generating types of livestock, while lower classes were stuck with pigs and were thus cut out of that pathway as well. This process was gradual, but at first, both economically and religiously. The early Bronze Age was the time of the swine. The Sumerian example tablet found in the site of Zabala in southern Iraq from around 2200 BC records 20 yards of haystack, which is probably used to make soap from processing wool into textiles. Each jar contained 2 liters of lard, which translates to about 396 liters of wood. According to Price's calculation, it would have taken at least 45 adult pigs to produce that much lard, meaning that ancient methods must have managed large swine herds earlier in the Bronze Age. When it comes to religion, a 4th millennium tablet from the Sumerian city of Ura mentions the temple owning a herd of 95 pigs. And at the site of Tel Mozan in northern Syria, archaeologists discovered a sacrificial pit dating to around 2200 sacrificed piglets along with some other animals, possibly as offerings to the underworld gods. Around the year 2000, pigs were being used at Mesopotamia, and Egyptian temples sometimes accepted pigs as sacrifices. Something garbage and pigs was as a living release. Just as pigs could absorb garbage, pigs could function as a ritual sponge, taking on ritual pollution as a sacrifice. For example, a ritual described on a government tablet explains how to slaughter a pig as a form of supernatural protection. In the prayer, the pig functions in part as a substitute, transferring evil to itself instead of the human. So pigs were quite common in the Near East for a long time during the Bronze Age, but this popularity slowly eroded over the centuries. By 1600s, around 400 years before our earliest archaeological evidence of the Israelites, they have more records that institutions of stopped raising pigs, including religious institutions. The Hittites of Anatolia banned them from temples. or Mesopotamia also banned them from their temples, and the religion also developed into virgins. Dead, asking of the god Seth, and Horus, pig. Thus, about the abomination of Horus's sake. It was around this time that society started associating them with filth and pollution, while in the earlier centuries, garbage was viewed as a good thing. Now it was seen as an abomination. Moreover, as low-class, low-wealth generating animals, apparently they were not fit as a sacrifice. Now, this is not to say that pigs disappeared entirely. People were still raising pigs, but at much lower rates than earlier centuries. In late Bronze Age Mesopotamia, animal documentary and archaeological sites show that pigs comprised only around 20% of the livestock. But even then, pigs were probably used by the lower classes, not by the institutions. Pigs were even less common in Iraq compared to Mesopotamia, making them only 5% of the total livestock. In other words, pigs were vanishingly rare in the regions that would eventually form the heartland of the Israelite kingdoms. Pigs were also rare in Canaanite cities during the late Bronze Age. Cities such as Megiddo, Tel Aviv, and Qumran used very small numbers of pigs, ranging from only 2 to 11% of the total livestock.
We did it!
By the
Let's
fact
get
that
these people
one
to
of the
safety.
most revered Canaanite gods, all they dangerous and powerful. Thus, a positive connotation, perhaps meant to emphasize velocity, as well as the aspect of warhammer. But largely, they brought no longer associated with urban, but instead with the urban poor, perhaps creating a stigma around raising pigs. When it comes to religion, it seems to be viewed positively. It might have been valued for their ability to absorb filth and pollution. But now, that filth and pollution was unsuitable for cultic sacrifice. To make matters worse for pig economics, urban living started to contract during the late Bronze Age. More and more people lived in small towns and villages. Thus, the only niche that pigs were particularly good at, eating trash in urban centers, started to disappear as well. Price argues that these economic realities, excluding pigs as sources of wealth, set the wheels in motion for pigs' cultural evolution into an underappreciated animal as temple and palace institutions abandoned them. All this to say, by the time the Israelites arrived on the scene, they found themselves living in a world where pig husbandry was already rare. They emerged out of cultures that for centuries associated pigs with the lower classes as well as dirty urban living. And now that we've discussed the economics, it's now time for the ancient social dynamics, specifically the rivalry between the biblical arch enemies, the Israelites versus the Philistines. This rivalry may have inspired the Israelite pork taboo because the Philistines ate a lot of pork. These two people groups arrived on the scene during the late Bronze Age collapse, a time when the status quo began to crumble across the eastern Mediterranean. The palace economies that we've been talking about and the long-distance trade sometime around 1200 BC. Around this time, tiny farm villages started popping up. The archaeologists now interpret as the earliest Israelite villages, possibly a mix of nomadic and city-dwelling Canaanites that had been in sparse economies. But the first group of people migrated from Greece to the Indian Islands, settle along the southern coastal plain, also around 1200 BC. From Indian-style architecture, Indian-style pottery, and pork was part of the typical Indian diet, though it was also part of the diet. Excavated Philippine sites show higher rates of pig consumption during the Iron Age 1 period compared to the surrounding cultures. For example, at the biblical city of Gath, people apparently ate a lot of pork, where it made up around 13% of the meat in their diets during the Iron Age. Meanwhile, pork consumption is nearly completely absent from Israelite sites. During the Iron Age 1 period, pigs comprised a paltry 1% or less of the total livestock remains at most of these sites.
So even though only a few kilometers separated some of these Philistine and Israelite towns, we see a striking difference in the amount of pig bones at these respective sites. Now, to be clear, the pork taboo was likely not fully formed at this time. Remember those pig principles from before? There are many practical reasons why the early Israelites did not consume much pork. This is why Max Price reminds us that the pig taboo was an evolving cultural element. It did not emerge fully formed. Having said that, some scholars have theorized that this discrepancy between Israelite sites those evil bad guys in sports and don't. Price essentially used this argument that pork consumption may have inspired people like him. Market for Israelites, even not at the market sites. Example is the site of El Casil, a small village. Here, barely registered for legalities, making up only 1% of the total animal remains. If we go by the logic that Israelite sites have very few pig bones and Philistine sites have a lot of pig bones, we'd identify this site as an Israelite town, but we'd be wrong. El Casil was a Philistine town. So while it's true that areas with higher proportions of pig bones are usually Philistine settlements, sometimes as high as 20% of the total livestock, this is not true across the board. However, it's worth considering that 20%, that upper ceiling of pig bone frequencies at Philistine sites, was still a relatively low proportion of the diet overall. Remember that back in the early Bronze Age, pigs comprised upwards to 40% of the total livestock in some of these cities. So the data that it might have just depended on might have been individual reform cases. Even if pork wasn't necessarily central to the ability measure, but this is not important. Much later, maybe the 8th or 7th centuries. This is hundreds of years later than the first Israelite settlements that were examined. That is the technology that finding that was realities. From decades of archaeological discoveries, it's clear that the people composing and compiling the Hebrew Bible had very little awareness of what had happened that far back in time. Granted that we have any evidence that might explain why and another rivalry. The rivalry between the southern kingdom of Judah and the northern kingdom of Israel. The of the Iron Age. By the time of the violence, the Philistines were no longer forced periods less than 2% by the Iron Age period. Huge drop. At Ashkelon and other major Philistine cities, less than 1% of the bones belong to the lake. Of the cultivated life there, as we know, the were not as common, but it's a different story. While the general picture showed that Israelites consumed very little pork, there were some important regional differences. As is often the case, there were some exceptions, even among the Israelites. At some major cities in the north of Israel, such as Megiddo and Rishon, husbandry actually used the Iron Age period. Percent of the total livestock population. That's a higher proportion of the sites. Also, archaeologists have observed similar patterns of remains on the board. Pig remains make up around 3-5% of the total livestock. The main all dates before the Assyrian Empire conquered a totally different pattern emerges in the kingdom of Judah to the south. At the major cities of Lachish, Tel Aviv, and Jerusalem, pig pig remains were virtually absent. So the pattern that emerged was not so much a clear cut dichotomy between Israelites versus Jews, but rather that data might point to a stronger dichotomy between Israelites versus Judahites. The lowest urban centers of the northern kingdom of Israel sometimes raised pigs versus those residing in the southern kingdom of Judah. So how do we explain this unexpected pattern? Since it doesn't seem to fit the model of Israelite identity. Some Israelite city dwellers purposely violating pork taboo or had the pork taboo not established in the region. One explanation is that the pork taboo developed in the southern kingdom of Judah in practice and hunting during the 8th and 7th centuries. During this period, religious reforms were being carried out under the leadership of Hezekiah and Messiah, and the northern kingdom of favorite targets of these offers frequently recognize their northern neighbors. From the perspective of the culture and political leaders of Judah, eating pork was one of the many egregious transgressions committed by those wayward Israelites up north. During the Iron Age period and all the way past the Babylonian exile, the pork taboo became important enough to the authorities of Judah that it became defined in the Torah. So, pork consumption could have been one of the things the authors latched onto in order to highlight the supposed moral failings of the Israelites, which led them to outlaw it for pork taboo as an idea emerged in late Iron Age Judah as a reactionary backlash to the behavior of the northern kingdom, perhaps related to the ways that the practices resembled their ancient rivals, the Philippines. The pork consumption was already relatively low, even among the Philippines. The creation of a religiously mandated prohibition on eating it marked a moral versus as a concept for the Judahites and everybody else who was trying to consider. In this model,
No! This isn't how you make things right!
The pork taboo
We deserve a chance!
rather than the realities of daily life.
I know you think you can use this power for good, but you're no hero.
But the taboo
You're just a
really crystallized 200 years later during the culture wars of the Hellenistic period, when pork was a wedge issue dividing Jews from non-Jews, especially the Greek population. After the death of Alexander the Great, Judea fell under the control of the Hellenistic Seleucid Empire. What became empowered persecuted the Judeans, suppressing Jewish practice like circumcision and desecrating the temple as well by sacrificing pigs on the altar. 2 Maccabees chapter 7 tells the story of King Antiochus arresting a Jewish mother and her 7 sons, trying to force them to partake of unlawful swine's flesh when they refused to one to unspeakable torture, killing them one by one.
Good isn't a thing you are!
It demonstrates how the pork taboo now plays a central role in early Jewish identity politics, bounded by academia role. The Hellenistic rulers established their own government, which lasted from around 167 to 40 BC. So, the rivalry that the Philistines inspired an initial recorded taboo, and the rivalry started that taboo.
What's happening?
Torah, then it was the clash between the Jews. That crystallized it for the rest of time. So to summarize, although pig consumption in the Middle East was initially very popular around the year 4000, over the course of the Bronze Age until around 1600 BCE, pork slowly but surely became less and less popular in the region. Both political and religious institutions seemed increasingly disinterested in raising pigs,
You got
and
hard,
focused
kid.
instead on more lucrative animals like horses, donkeys,
Yeah,
cattle,
we need to work on that
sheep.
passing out thing.
Raising pigs continued, but generally by the lower classes. Around the
Good.
year 1600 BCE,
That was pretty
around 400
badass.
years before the Israelites emerged as a people, there was a major drop-off in pig husbandry,
Can you guys give us
possibly because it carried a stigma for being associated with the lower classes, also because pigs were not associated with wealth generation, and also because people started associating the garbage-eating tendencies of pigs as something bad instead of something good. The Israelites emerged from this cultural context of pig avoidance, but it wasn't part of their ethnic identity at first until they started to distinguish themselves from Philistines, who did occasionally eat pork. It finally became a codified pig taboo in the Hebrew Bible, sometime in the religious reforms of the 7th centuries. Some urban dwellers in the northern kingdom of Israel raised and ate pigs, while those in the southern kingdom of Judah almost entirely avoided pigs. Written from the perspective of the Judahite religious elite, it makes sense that the Hebrew Bible thus codifies something that they resented the northerners for consuming. All this to say, the pig taboo is not a static thing. It changed over time. The earliest Israelites in 1200 BCE probably did not care as much about avoiding pork when compared to the writers of 2nd Maccabees, where it was a central feature of Jewish identity. What started as a passive avoidance because of economic or social stigma evolved into a key religious prohibition and ethnic marker by the Hellenistic period. Now, this is a complicated topic, and research is still ongoing. So if you'd like to learn more, I'm including the bibliography.
You know you're grounded till you're 30, yes?
For future episodes on how this taboo developed in early Islam.
From now on, nothing but school. And your special field trips.
Really? Oh, Abu.
I'm so proud of you, Beta. But let's not tell Ami, okay?
Do you have snacks?
Of course.
How easy it is for me to get to you.
We can all hurt beers on this weekend. On August 11th, the unexpected. It cannot be the unexpected weird. What is? Where you want to be?
Right here, like Sentinel is the main boss in this one.
As the newly elected scientific creator, I will weed out weak elements from the game. No more surprises, no more distractions from our goals, only carefully crafted innovations. Make no mistake, AIM is still the future. From cloning to time traveling, the possibilities are endless. Now, let's begin.
Never flies solo. I said never flies solo. Is that some kind of catchphrase? Face the unknown and ponder the question. What idiot?
Back everyone, this is Michael Mark. Like in the trailer video, there's a woman Easter egg. Spider-Man having a version of Doctor Strange. Look there is Mr. Doctor Spider-Man again. A bunch of Easter eggs here, break it all down. Subscribe to get all the episodes. I will other videos for all the episodes. They're literally starting in a couple weeks. But if you were
Commander
wondering,
Hill, what's the situation?
Galactus, I
Good
think
to
a lot
see
of
you
people
again, Cap.
that
I wish it was under better circumstances, but we think
it's
AIM
actually
might have a new
on
leader,
Captain
someone
Scott,
with
Final Possible,
ambitious
Storm
plans to
Call,
expand their operations.
and after
Is
he's
it really
taken over the
ambition
body,
if you have the
he
government
becomes
and
like a
public
living
opinion on
insignia
your side?
with all six
We can
divisions
change people's
of
minds,
his
Tony,
body,
even
like
if we have
Guardians
to
of
act
the Life
outside the
front.
law.
But the whole
Well, I
thing
do
here,
love breaking the
Spider-Man
rules.
becoming a version of Doctor
SHIELD
Strange.
is still getting
Whereas
back on its
Doctor
feet, but
Strange
we've been
is
able to gather intel on AIM's operations.
like the Benedict
They have a
Cumberbatch
list of beats in San Francisco.
of all the
Here's
Marvel
where it gets weird.
movies.
Our
Everyone
sources
just
tell us
put
AIM has been
Spider-Man
experimenting with
inside
cloning
first.
technology, new synthoids, and we believe they're exploring potential uses of cosmic energy.
And here I hoped cloning would be
It
the
is
rear
a
part.
slightly
The
different
world
version of
still
the original
needs the
Stark
Avengers.
Exit from Captain
Maybe
America
now more than ever.
Spider-Man
You
Homecoming.
can count on us.
There are a few very, very
If our intel is right, we're gonna need all the help we can get. I've got some field ops lined up when you're ready. The harm room is back online on the lower deck, so you can train up if you need to. We got a big job ahead of us.
Other time periods in the MCU. A really good example is the version of the Iron Man armor that you see if you go to those theme parks. It's actually the Iron Man Mark 80, and it's meant to be a version of his armor from between Avengers Infinity War and Avengers Endgame. Because if you remember, in Avengers Infinity War, his nanotech armor that he whips out was the Mark 50, but when we get to Avengers Endgame and we see him whip out his armor in that final battle, it's the Mark 85. So people are like, what happened to those 34 armors in that 5-year time jump? Where did they all go? But the whole thing with Spider-Man during the What If series, as far as we know, is that this Peter Parker, who looks just like a slightly older version of Tom Holland's Peter Parker in Spider-Man Far From Home, is referred to on the series as Zombie Hunter Spider-Man. So it sounds like wherever the character is introduced in the Marvel What If multiverse timelines, he winds up being a bigger part of the Marvel Zombies episodes or multiple episodes. The big change from Marvel Comics' What If series is that they're actually doing a more serialized version of those stories for the TV show. The original comic book was just a series of one-offs. Like you would see a What If story with Spider-Man, but then in the next issue they would go to a completely disconnected story with a different character, and it was all treated as if these were happening in alternate timelines. But it sounds like on the series, everything will be way more connected because you'll see the characters show up in one episode, then they'll continue on into the next episode as things sort of spin up as they put together this multiverse Avengers team. They're calling their team the Guardians of the Multiverse, but because the scenes that they're using to introduce them, to sort of highlight their characters, are big twists on classic Avengers scenes, it's sort of like they're combining the concept of the Guardians of the Galaxy with the Avengers and the idea of the multiverse after what happened with Loki and them spinning up into the true version of the Marvel MCU multiverse. It's not going to be quite as complicated as it seems. But it just sounds like this whole idea with Marvel Zombies and these characters going crazy, Avengers turning into zombies, it's not going to be like they do Marvel Zombies in one episode and then completely fix everything within 20 minutes. Like there'll be some storyline about how the Watcher, Captain Carter, the darker version of Doctor Strange start bringing the Multiverse Avengers team together across the episodes, and as events unfold, something happens that leads to Marvel Zombies. And Spider-Man just gets swept up in that fight. But as you can see, his Spider-Man symbol on his chest is fairly similar to MCU Tom Holland's Spider-Man symbol. The Stark Tech suit looks very similar. So even though Iron Man has what seems like a very different twist on his origin story involving Killmonger, at some point during that, Peter Parker seems like he'll have a similar origin story to MCU Tom Holland's Spider-Man, get involved with Tony Stark. Maybe they have a twist on the joke of the Stark Industries internship, and then he gets that version of the suit from Tony Stark. And as things spiral out of control, Marvel Zombies happen. And as for the whole Doctor Strange Cloak of Levitation twist, if you think about it this way, the main version of Doctor Strange on the What If series is meant to be a darker version of the character. It seems like just based on the toys here, the labels, they're calling him Doctor Strange Supreme. I'm assuming because during his origin story, when they introduced the character, he winds up taking the title of Sorcerer Supreme by force from the Ancient One. So he becomes Sorcerer Supreme in a slightly different way. Like it seems like he winds up fighting a less dark version of himself and also winds up fighting the Ancient One. So things just go completely off the rails during his origin story. The way the producers talked about him, he takes a quote-unquote darker path. I think he's meant to be more of an anti-hero version of the character. But as you can probably tell, he is being voiced by Benedict Cumberbatch. And his cloak seems very different from the regular Cloak of Levitation. The one that Spider-Man is wearing during this seems like the regular Cloak of not the Marvel movie so far, but I'm assuming that Doctor Strange Supreme here is Spider-Man, the Cloak of Levitation, because he isn't using it. He doesn't need it. And there's some massive Marvel Zombies outbreak, like you see Zombie Captain America fighting everyone here. There's also a Zombie Iron Man wearing his armor from Avengers Infinity War. And it seems like a zombified version of Thanos' Black Order. Like, this is full obsidian behind him, and what seems like Ebony Maw over here in the background, too. All zombies. We also have a very big Spider-Man, Doctor Strange team-up coming during Spider-Man No Way Home. And I'm wondering about when the trailer's going to drop. More like Spider-Man, don't be forgetting that trailer. I've already done a video about all the big new Spider-Man suit reveals, because one of the suits he's wearing is a black suit. I know everybody's wondering when he's going to be wearing the symbiote. Not quite the black suit you were expecting. You see him wielding magical runes. Like it's a Spider-Man suit enhanced with Doctor Strange's magic and spells, allowing Spider-Man to wield magic briefly during one or more of his fights with the Sinister Six villains. But as things start going out of control, moving over all this as things escalate, it seems like Ultron is a much bigger, badder threat in this storyline. Like these Stark Tech drones look like a similar version of the Hammer Tech drones from the event Spider-Man 2. And just like the Hammer Tech drone, they also seamlessly go rogue and attack Wakanda. But because there's all this footage of Iron Man working together with Killmonger, what might be happening here, just based on the way they cut the footage, is the reason these drones walk rails might be because Ultron just takes over their programming. And here's where the Marvel Zombies plot starts to connect with the Ultron Avengers Age of Ultron storyline. So we know that Spider-Man is Zombie Hunter Spider-Man. Well, if you watch this scene, he's actually trying to web up Scarlet Witch here, who seems like she's gone completely off the rails. So she might actually be zombie Scarlet Witch. And they just introduced Ultron and Vision as part of this Age of Ultron storyline while this is all happening. Like in the process of gaining control of all 6 Infinity Stones and Vision's body, Ultron tries to attack Wakanda to take their vibranium, and throughout this winds up inadvertently creating Marvel Zombies somehow. Also because Doctor Strange Supreme, the Dark Doctor Strange, seems like he goes completely off the rails. He might have something to do with the reason why the Avengers turn into zombies. But during all this footage, the attack on Wakanda no longer seems like he's teaming up with Shuri, like she says, our goals are temporarily aligned. It seems like she's a little bit younger, because this is all happening a little bit earlier in the timeline. And also, this might be on the same version of Earth where T'Challa was taken by Yondu as a child, with the Ravagers to become Star-Lord T'Challa instead of growing up to become Black Panther. And Killmonger being here to help save Wakanda from Ultron might be how he becomes King of Wakanda and Black Panther.
I still can't believe I have my own room on the Chimera.
Like when they sell the toys, it'll say King Killmonger on the toys. Like after he starts wearing this version of the Black Panther costume, we get way more footage of Captain Carter fighting this giant tentacle creature, and it seems like just based on what's going on in the background here, this is taking place during the events of World War II because you see the Hydra banners behind her, and it might have something to do
I hope I'm making you proud.
Part of messing with the Tesseract, and things just going off the rails. Like the Tesseract contains the Space Stone, so it opens portals across the universe, so maybe the Red Skull is messing with it and accidentally winds up allowing some creature from another world to come to Earth. But the other cool thing here that you may have noticed, she's fighting.
It's nice of Abu to send me all my stuff.
Shield needs to look like Captain Britain's shield because she's kind of like a version of Captain Britain during this. She was part of the British Army during the events of the first Captain America movie. And the sword she's wielding here might be Excalibur from Marvel Comics. Both Captain Britain and the Black Knight have wielded Excalibur in the Marvel Universe before. Now, the Black Knight's origin story flows from the King Arthur mythology of the Marvel Universe. We're going to see MCU Black Knight Carrington during the Eternals movie. He'll get a version of his origin story during that. Maybe they also have a funny twist on the myth of pulling the sword from the stone when she becomes Captain Britain. Like she finds it sitting inside a stone when she's in the middle of a fight and just winds up yanking it out. It's sort of like a twist on the idea of Thor's hammer. Like he who is worthy wield the power of Excalibur. Either way, if you spotted any other big Easter eggs during this footage that I didn't talk about in the video, just write it below in the comments. This is just the beginning. It'll get way weirder and way cooler with all this big multiverse storytelling that they're doing after the Loki series. Now you understand why we saw Loki episodes before we saw the What If episodes. Like, okay, here's your introduction, how the multiverse works. Now we're just going to roll real hard on that. They also just released even more Shang-Chi trailer footage, so I'll do a video for that tomorrow. Make sure you have alerts enabled for my channel so you don't miss anything. Everyone click here for that other new Shang-Chi trailer and Easter egg. Click here for my new Loki video about what Iron Man knew about what was going on with Kang inside the MCU. Thank you so much for watching. Everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next video.
I would do anything to go to Tokyo.
I got the tickets.
But they canceled those. I know I can't go, but I really wish I could.
Hey guys, this is Cole from Tokyo.
Hello.
This is Yoyogi Park.
We're going to get kakigori, which is our favorite summertime treat.
That's amazing.
Let me show you these hidden alleys.
That's actually, oh my god!
Check out what I've got for sale.
Let's wear watermelon. Look at how big it is. Here is my favorite cat cafe. They're so fluffy.
It's a cat lollipop. Guys, I'm gonna spend the whole time in the
Come on by when you're ready to reinvent yourself.
Where to next? We made a USAA cashback credit card for members like Margot. She doesn't want to use more than one card to earn on the things she loves. With unlimited 1.5% cash back on purchases, she doesn't have to. USAA. What you're made of, we're
Mermaid 4.
Welcome back to New Rockstars. I'm Eric Fox, and Loki just solved one of the MCU's biggest mysteries since Avengers Endgame, the question of where and when exactly old Steve Rogers came from. And if the reason we haven't seen him since is that the TVA pruned him and all we got. Get in there, Captain America. Did he live his second life in the background of the MCU we've been watching as the Endgame screenwriters claim? Or did going back to 1949 with Peggy Carter create a branch timeline, as the Endgame directors say? Who's really running this cinematic universe? The nerds with the whiteboards or the broken bros and ball caps? Turns out it's whoever makes the next thing, to which Kevin Feige says, sure, that works. Loki director Kate Herron just provided the clearest explanation yet of Cap's actual fate and current status in the MCU, at least according to the TVA timeline logic of Loki. Marvel Studios seems to be sacred. And before we begin, this video is brought to you by Squarespace. From websites and online stores to marketing tools and analytics, Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence and run your business. Kate Herron said in an interview that either way, Steve and Peggy were living in a branch timeline. No debate there. But really the question is whether or not that branch timeline was pruned. She said optimistic fans could argue that Steve and Peggy's branch wasn't so severe and they didn't need to be pruned, but she went on to say that in her mind, and according to the logic of the TVA, Steve and Peggy probably were pruned. Yikes, scratch that it's been a long, long time record and crank up the emoji and heat. What you say? Thankfully, we can finally dispel with that weird interpretation that old Cap could have been hiding in the background of the Infinity Saga, letting every historical tragedy happen, including his best friend being tortured for decades by Hydra. No, Steve did create the branch history from 1949 onward. Bucky and alter the timeline however he wanted. But now, according to Herron, that also would make Steve a variant targeted for pruning. And we didn't speculate on this earlier in the season. In the background of the TVA, a hunter escorts a variant who looks a lot like Peggy Carter. Interestingly, when she was asked about this directly, Kate Herron refused to debunk it and deliberately left the door open for more conversation about possible pruned variant Peggy. But wait, variant Steve couldn't have been pruned, right? Because he showed up as an old man to hand off that shield to Sam Wilson. His survival means the
I could pull some strings to spruce up the armory. Get ourselves some new toys to play with. Dangerous ones.
Rushed to a pawn shop and a wedding chapel before the TVA dragged her away screaming. Oh, Stephen,
So listen, about this prank war with Tony. Can I offer you some advice?
Yes, please.
Tony likes to pretend that he's a mastermind, that he's got it all planned out.
Yeah, because he does.
It's a magic trick, kid. All smoke and mirrors.
The branch timelines that would lead to the rise of a rival Kang. That would help explain why there are so many alternate Lokis who lived varying lengths of lives before random mistakes got them proved. Now, if that throws you, I'll refer you back to my bundle of strands.
Greetings, Kamala Khan.
Not one timeline, it's with a coil of alternate
I've fought many wars.
back upon themselves
Somehow,
endlessly.
I
They
can't
don't
predict
interfere
the
with each
course
other.
of this
With every universal cycle ending with a
Made
big
for quite the tale.
with a big bang. Like, bang, now we're on a Sylvie loop. Bang, now we're on a Gator loop, etc. Now, Herron complicates it by saying Steve and Peggy should have been pruned for merely existing together. Unless the implication is that every unplanned branch from the curated timeline would inevitably lead to a Kang. It's also possible that Steve and Peggy's union was the Nexus event that led to the rise of the Kang in that timeline, similar to how Loki and Sylvie's union was their Nexus event. You could even extrapolate that variants sharing knowledge would lead to futures where Nathaniel Richards would be more likely to unlock the secrets of time and transdimensional travel. But I like to simplify it as Kang hates love. Look, I love crafting these theories about where the MCU might be headed. Maybe you love carving rocket raccoons out of ice and you need a website to share your work with the world. Well, Squarespace is an all-in-one platform to build a beautiful online presence and let the world see your frozen trash pandas. Squarespace lets you present members-only gated content, connect your social media accounts, present video content, and all the other cool features to give you a super effective, super functional website for your hobby or your business. You can collect the emails of fellow Ice Guardians of the Galaxy enthusiasts and send custom newsletters. Squarespace will even sell you a URL. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/newrockstars to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. That's squarespace.com/newrockstars for 10% off your first purchase of a website or a domain. So again, let's ask, if old Steve Rogers was a variant targeted for pruning by the TVA, how did he get away from them and age into an old man by the end of Endgame? There are three possibilities at least. First theory, as Heron suggested in her interview, the optimists view that maybe Steve and Peggy's branch timeline was just harmless enough for the TVA to leave them alone. Nah, I don't think so. This organization's a bunch of dirtbags. If they can prune little kids, newlyweds are not off limits. And I think Heron's response to that variant Peggy Carter question suggests the TVA did not actually leave them alone. So on to our second theory. Steve and Peggy found a legal loophole. Now, it's possible they were arrested, but somewhere in their legal proceedings, they managed to appeal to a higher authority that ruled that Steve represented a crucial anomaly that earned him a special immunity from the TVA. We know from the point that the Living Tribunal exists in the MCU. Now, I know it looks like its head has been severed here, so how much authority could it really have over the TVA? But actually, I'm pretty sure this is a statue of the Living Tribunal. So really what might have gotten pruned here was a timeline where the tribunal's rule was just more public and domineering, because why else does one have a statue of oneself? And He Who Remains needs the Living Tribunal to exercise more judicial restraint. Either way, Steve could argue that him going that extra mile to patch the sacred timeline with each of the Infinity Stones really earned him a get-out-of-jail-free card. Ultimately, I do think it makes a lot of sense for Steve to have had some correspondence with the TVA, because a time door is just the cleanest explanation for how he could show up by the lake in Endgame from another timeline. But if all of this is going down in our head canons, I want to live in a multiverse where Cap faced off against the TVA. So, theory 3, Steve and Peggy were TVA fugitives who built their own TVA. This explanation would initially mirror Loki and Sylvie's journey in Loki Season 1, like two variants who slipped in and out of TVA custody, but managed to get enough alone time by fighting their way out and hiding near apocalyptic events. But in Steve Rogers' case, instead of letting those apocalyptic events happen, don't you think he and Peggy would try to intervene to save lives? Perhaps these two spent their alternate history fighting to save as many people as possible from each of those apocalypses, and by doing so, becoming a whole different kind of frustration for the TVA for thwarting what was dictated in their script. So imagine this history where Steve and Peggy strive to right as many historical wrongs as they could, not only freeing Bucky, but also freeing Isaiah Bradley, the widows of the Red Room, helping the victims of Sokovia, the victims of Thanos. What we're talking about is really the origins of the Captain Britain Corps, a heroic multiversal organization that would be untouchable by the TVA, but one that refuses to let history always end in death and despair. What do you think variant old Steve did in his alternate life, and where is he now? Support New Rockstars by checking out our merch options at newrockstarsmerch.com. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at @EateBoss. Follow and subscribe to New Rockstars for breakdowns of everything you love. Thanks for watching. Bye.
So, for Smoke Code, they just send you a cool box every month.
Wow. This is good, awesome. This thing is jam-packed. Look at this thing. It's got straps on the top of the 256 layered in that.
The thing is awesome, guys.
Absolutely super sharp. They scour the globe and find under the radar brain stuff that makes you go, ooh. All the hobbies that I'm into. Whiskey, tech, EDC. You guys can tell them what you want, and they will tailor a box for you. You can swap out the box if you don't like them.
The value of every box is at least around $70, if not more.
I know you're going to take that.
Square Terminal is a roll-up credit machine. It's built from the ground up entirely by Square. The terminal takes every form of payment and is able to print or email receipts from a compact portable device. With the Terminal API, you can easily integrate your web, desktop, or mobile-based point-of-sale system with Square Terminal. Let Square handle all the complexity of payments, including EMV and PCI compliance, so you can focus on building the perfect point-of-sale solution for your customers.
Integrate your app with Square Terminal for in-person payments on your platform. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Talking Podcast. You guys are new to the channel, you can where you guys up on. It doesn't take a show, it's a video. Now, for this video, here something to your guidance on Captain America, issue number 2. This is number 1. Go ahead and check out the link in my description as well at the top of this video. It will get you completely caught up on everything going on in this volume. Found it by Christopher Cantwell, and the artist is Dale Eagleton. And in the last issue, what we saw was Captain America's shield being stolen. Some kind of speedster came in and took it from him. Dressed as Captain America, having no idea who this is, he enlists the help of Sam Wilson. And while they're trying to track down this shield thief, this is where you run into the network of Captain America. Individuals were doing the groundwork while the Avengers and everybody else were fighting alien, whatever space beings are coming, whatever world-ending event is coming, while the network is working on the ground, fighting inequality, fighting injustice, trying to help the community sit and wait and the stuff that this guy just don't have time for. And with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright guys, as you guys see, you're picking up Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, and as Captain America sits here and looks over this land, the land that once held one of the worst battles in American history, and reminiscing of his early days of being integral to this place, needing to go to the bathroom so bad and almost celebrating the land because of it, not realizing what value this land holds, why this land is different. And now after everything he has been through, he looks upon this land, one another, and lately it has him questioning, did we actually ever come back from that? After working something so deeply, have we truly healed from those wounds? But his thoughts are cut off, because he sees the arrival of Sam Wilson, and all Captain America is, they're ready to go check out this new Captain America attack, happening staged by a near Harrisburg. A woman with a red for busting up the water main line that was supposed to be for the entire city, that was going to be fresh water into the city. And they say that she's resident as one of the Captain America. And so assuming she may be a part of this network, they want to go investigate and see exactly what happened. And realizing they don't have the full story here, this really felt like she up here keeping terrorist. At least by not America. By everything she has done, by everything that they can tell, she seems to be like an upstanding citizen that just wants to help her community. And so this is out of character, and they want to investigate it further. With this her a domestic terrorist, it really sticks uneasy. You know, he's been labeled that before, and so when people start to label individuals in this manner, it's very dangerous. And that's what will pick us up a few hours later, them making their way to the city, arriving not realizing how bad this is. This water main was huge. It was a gigantic water main going right in the middle of the city. And because of this, it's going to displace a lot of people. A lot of people are going to end up homeless because of this. And while they're investigating this, locals come up. One of the things that would never think of this danger. This is they have this problem. They have issues, but she does nothing to try to help them. And though she does stuff like Captain America and she does try to play vigilante, at the end of the day, this is not something she would do. Simply because she's the reason this fresh water was even coming here to begin with. Because of her countless sit-ins and protests, she finally made something. And as we get the closer with the fight, he has Sam come down there and bring his up there, get the flip, and put his head up and see what happens because of his shield. The shield that was stolen from him is what broke him. So our teacher is the one to blame for this. And it looks like they're trying to frame the joke. They're trying to frame her for this and make the Captain America look bad. And Sam asked like, that's my shield. I thought you at least have a couple of these lying around somewhere. Like, why don't you have another shield? And this is when he shows us his shield. A shield that Tony Stark created for him. With a front for front. Pop out looking like a hologram almost. But having to take on now, not really knowing what to do from here, they want to try to talk to him, try to find her, to break out the interview. And so that is their go-to, to find out why she is still alive. Because the last Captain America was attacked, it's like this. But they know for sure that
all in an attempt to make Captain America look bad, to make the symbol look bad. And while they're having this conversation, Mr. Wilson, on Captain America's speedster, was running in and knocking him to the side. And we told them that is exactly the idea. The creation for Captain America and let it grow bigger and bigger and bigger. And as the Captain America is trying to go toe-to-toe with both Sam and Steve, he is definitely outmatched here, no matter how fast he is. But he is not alone, and this is where we see a female wearing a mask of the American flag. And she puts one right on the shoulder of Sam, letting him know that the next shot is going to paralyze him. With Steve seeing this, he goes to try to block it with his shield, but it's heavy because it appears that Tony Stark didn't make his shield waterproof, like not even for a freaking second. Captain America super freaking here is a big broken, and the speedster grabs her and they take off. And a little bit later, they're going to figure out exactly why they're still here days after the attack. And they can only assume it's because they're here to kill the girl. That the police were able to get to her first. And so they have come to finish off the job. Because they have come to kill Captain America. The entire symbol, the idea behind it, the entire dream that is Captain America. They have come to kill it. And that means the entire network of Captain Americas. And so Sam and Steve, they make their way into the police station. Going inside the station, they're only met with hostility. Because the sheriff, at the end of the day, he was happy to bring this girl in. He really caused much for them. From her sitting to her protests to demanding this water fight, it caused nothing but trouble for him. And so her being here, it really alleviates all of his issues. Not only that, but some very important people, they didn't want this water pipe built. Not only that, but the constructors wanted to be Captain America vigilante. So at the end of the day, they see it as a win. Now they don't like here, but this stuff appears to have a vendetta against the girl. Profile, he doesn't outright say it because he's like, but it solves all of his problems. Regardless of his skin color or not, he is framing this girl and he is not listening to the evidence at hand. He is listening to the powers of be, and he is going to arrest, take out, and get this girl just go on the paperwork fight. And Sam loses it. Sam grabs this guy and throws him. You know, Steve says he must have to break some of the rules. And Sam says, you know, why not start now? Why not start with this douchebag cop? And so with this guy being out, he makes their way to the police, where there's another police officer, but after he sees Captain America, he's glad to see him. Because he knows it's like, this didn't feel like. And he goes to start off, he wasn't supposed to do this. And so he's glad to see him. Captain America can step in and be able to train on this. And so he doesn't Captain America to break out the show. But breaking her out, she doesn't seem like she wants to even mess around with Captain America. She's acting almost as she's too good for him. She's acting super snobby, saying that she's got this. Like, this will break me out of jail, but I'm going to make the rest of this on my own. You know, she's trying not to be offensive, but at the same time, she really is. Letting them know, you know, I know this place has got this grand thing going on, a grand thing to go on. But that's the network of Captain America. We fight underground, we don't fight in the clouds. Now, when the picks up her shield, walks out of the room. Now, as Captain America makes her way out, the sheriff, he tries to go to stop them, but he knows he's not going to be able to do anything. But this is when things go sideways super quick. Seeing some headlights at the doorway, she knows everybody can get down. Jumping and saving the sheriff's bus is not like her, because right now, they are ready to gunfire. A fully automatic, mounted, appearing to be salvage gun, just flooding loose from the inside of this department. And as these birds are completely tearing upon everything on the inside, this is where we see Cap stand up to use the shield that Tony Stark created for him, blocking all of the bullets that are coming in. Captain America starts talking crap to them, but at the end of the day, they are not here for this. They don't want him dead. They want to kill Captain America. That nobody knows about. Because if they weren't to kill Steve Rogers or Sam Wilson, they would make them a martyr. And that is exactly what they're trying to not do. They're trying to turn the populace against Captain America. And you can only do that if Captain America is still alive. Saying that they want to break the symbol that is Captain America. And because nobody knows the network of Captain America, they're nobodies. And so they're going to use them to trash the name of Captain America. And ending this conversation with a giant splash of a flamethrower, filling up the entire doorway. And with them being out of the video, I'm not on board with this whole we, like, we're not going to track them down. I still have work to do here, and that's what I'm going to continue to do. And let us know, Captain American Network, they take the idea and they make it real for the people that we don't have time for, or the people that we don't think about. Now, Sam tries to defend it, and let them know, like, we support your people. We try to help out everybody we can, but she lets us know, like, we get it. You have the Avengers, you have Space Aliens, all of this craziness you try to keep it. But down here, we've got poison water, we got street crime, we got inequality, and we have crooked cops. Though it's not every one of them, you are getting crooked. And she doesn't want to get it taken from her. It's all for that Captain America. They respect him and everything he does and everything he represents. But as it stands, he can't walk away. That's exactly why this community has been put in place. And so with that, she makes her exit. And Sam is realizing that the key is truly going to be on this now. No matter if he will kill Captain America or not. After everything that just happened here, with the sheriff, with Captain America now getting played it's going to start painting a target on his back. And it's something that we're going to have to prepare for. So as our two bad guys get away, we learn that one of them is which makes absolute sense, him being the speedster. And the other individual is Sid, telling Speed Demon that she wants to go by the name of Superior. And it appears that these two are the ones responsible. The goal is to take out Captain America, make him to where the populace turns against him. Because if you turn the populace against Captain America, if you take away that symbol of hope, you have a good chance of being able to take down America, using the tactic of conquering and dividing. This is the end goal, to divide America by using the Captain Americas to do so, using the biggest beacon of hope America currently has. By turning the populace against one another, turning them against Captain America, you create a divide bigger than any in American history. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. I know a lot of individuals are extremely happy with how political it is in some aspects, with the topics that it's tackling, from police brutality, wrongful arrest, with our water being poisoned. You know, there's a lot of politically charged topics in here. So I can understand why some people don't like it. But at the same time, I feel like these are important topics to talk about, and why not, if anybody, have Captain America tackle these topics? Because at the end of the day, we can't ignore that these topics exist. And together we have to find a compromise. You know, we have to find some kind of unity in all of this. And I really think this is what this comic is about, is finding that unity. No matter who tries to divide us, we the people, no matter what affiliation you are, we as a people need to come together. Try and set aside our differences and work together. Not let the outside sources divide us. And I think this can be said even on a humanitarian aspect, on a global aspect. You know, each individual nation needs to be able to find that compromise. Though you may not agree with another nation, you may not agree with another people, that we can all coexist. We can find a way to live together. Because at the end of the day, is that not the dream? So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you have not yet, do me a favor, hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, make sure you're not missing any of the awesome content we have coming out. And until the next breakdown.
You want Japanese snacks? The boy is today's sponsor for you.
Boksu, yeah.
We have Boksu, which is a monthly Japanese snack box subscription service. They have themes every single month, so the snacks inside are different every time. Dun dun dun. Discover Japan. through snacks.
Yeah.
This box is shipped directly from Japan. I think this is a booklet of everything that's in this box.
I think so.
So they actually explain all of this stuff. That's really awesome. I didn't even know they did that.
Yeah.
That's unexpectedly cool. Edamame sete.
Never seen it
Are
before.
rice crackers. This sounds like something you would love. It says here boksu/daimonji handcrafted candy. So I guess when they say they work with traditional Japanese snack makers, like they work directly with them, meaning some of these are manufactured specifically for boksu. That's pretty amazing.
Yukigen Maicha.
Oh look! They show you where everything came from. This guy is cool.
Oh, literally all over Japan.
Yeah. So, hey guys, we used to live here in Aichi. Tokyo is up here. And now we live all the way down here in Fukuoka.
Which snack is from Aichi?
This one.
Oh, this. So this one. I actually haven't seen this before in Aichi.
You know, they said these are like premium hand selected snacks, and now I can see why. This is a lot of effort that goes with this box. This is really well done. I'm genuinely impressed.
Oh wait, this is Supamucho. I know Supamucho. It's quick, yeah. Yeah. I know this one, and I know this one's good. It's really sour.
Hair, look at that. That looks beautiful.
And of course there's only one, so you'll need
No, I'll split them in half, dude. I'm not gonna eat them all myself. I'll share. So, boksu is a gourmet journey through Japan. Literally, because they're giving you snacks from all over the country. Alright, I'm gonna try some stuff. This pear one looks amazing. Is this the apple one? Is this one from, hang on, I'm guessing this is Aomori.
Aomori Ringo.
Yeah, so the Aomori. Aomori. It's the northernmost prefecture on the main island, Honshu. They're famous for apples.
And witches.
Witches?
And witches.
What?
Sorry, that's just my favorite one. Never mind.
Okay, Commander. How can we help?
Perfect timing.
Oh, I have
Thanks to
this
those
before.
protocols you found, I was able to hunt down shields and pound the gear. It's being held in a secure aim base up north. Weapons, trucks, tanks, everything. Fury was tracking it all.
And you need our help to steal some cars?
No, we're taking the entire base.
I think you're saying the whole thing, and that's
muscle to do the job.
I can't help you there, but
I have it before. It's really good.
I know someone who can.
Okay, how much of this is sesame seeds?
Wait, you're talking about...
Yes.
One of my favorite
Let's go.
Sesame ice cream?
We'll get to it.
Snacks?
I love sesame bread.
Sesame bread? Oh, vegetarian, yes? / no? Allergens? Flavors? This is really thoughtful. I hope we can keep working with them. Are you okay?
Rachel doesn't really like fake.
You guys know how picky I am. I do not fake reactions.
She doesn't.
I have gagged our videos.
If she says yeah, she likes it, she means it.
Seaweed tempura.
Thanks.
Sudachi. It was surprisingly citrusy.
Yeah.
Read the bag.
Yeah, I like it.
I've got operatives en route now. With your help, we can take over that base and reclaim everything AIM stole from us.
I genuinely recommend this from the bottom of my heart.
Yay.
It's great.
To be completely 100% honest with you guys and with you.
You'll be the first wave. My agents will follow and secure the base as you make your way through.
Two things she doesn't like. She doesn't like it. She tells us she doesn't like it. Really like it.
You can get 10% off or 10% off. If you're gonna buy from them, please use
We'll need to hit the security checkpoint first and clear it out. Once you strike, you'll have to move fast. Their alarm system will bring everyone running. Everyone get in position. Ready, awaiting your signal.
Approaching security checkpoint.
Take him out. Roger that, Commander.
my name's Jack. Welcome back to
containing special resources nearby.
Just happened. I just saw this follow on Twitter. Somebody sent this to me, Jimmy, and it's crazy. Honestly, I don't know what you think. It all has to do with Scarlett Johansson. Over what happened to Black Widow, so this is odd for a number of reasons. But I want to just bring up the report together. I'll sort of talk about my thoughts about it as we go through it, and yeah, then we'll just sort of make some takeaways because I don't know how to do it. I think the reaction we have, nobody would do this. Nobody would sue Disney like this just because it's Jeopardy. There's a lot of bad things that can happen to this property. If anything, what is happening around the world right now, and the entertainment on all of these different places, people are not as friendly to Disney anymore. There's a lot of bad PR out there for Disney, and that Scarlett Johansson is making this move. This on the Wall Street Journal. It doesn't get more real than this. Scarlett Johansson sued Disney over Black Widow streaming, released the star alleges simultaneously. And on Disney Plus service was a breach of contract. Holy crap! This is so wild. So Black Widow has the Walt Disney government. So the great start releasing the Marvel movie by the lawsuit that they lobbied their reporting against Disney, alleging her contract was breached. The media plan to release the film on its Disney Plus streaming service at the same time as the theatrical debut. I know what many of you are thinking in the comment section right now, but Josh, you thought that was a good move. You thought that's the future of cinema and stuff, and I still do. Sorry, Scott. Don't do me. Now, Miss Johansson said in suit that her agreement with Disney Marvel Entertainment guaranteed an exclusive theatrical release, and she's saying that her salary
Can take it from here.
on the box office performance of the film, and spoiler alert,
See if you can
it
locate
didn't
our
do
stolen
well.
supplies.
Disney couldn't be reached immediately for comment. The suit
Checkpoint A locked down, Commander.
a bellwether
Move in.
entertainment industry. Major
Approaching
media
position.
companies are prioritizing their streaming
Security up ahead.
growth.
Then that's where you
They are
head first.
increasingly putting
Never
their
thought I'd say
high-value content on those platforms. Those changes have significant financial implications for actors and producers who want to ensure that growth in streaming doesn't come at their expense. This will surely not be the last case where Hollywood talent stands up to Disney. It makes it clear that whatever the company may pretend, it has a legal obligation to honor its contracts, said John Berlinski, an attorney who's representing Scarlett here, okay? Disney began releasing movies simultaneously on Disney Plus and in theaters, partly because of the, you know it, what I'm saying there, when theaters were closed or at limited capacity, and partly to boost its nascent service. AT&T Warner Media, which operated the HBO Max streaming service, is following a similar strategy for its entire 2021 slate of Warner Brothers movies. Comcast Corp's NBC Universal has since followed suit with the release of The Boss Baby Family Business, both in theater and on its Peacock streaming service. Again, streaming is the future. All of these companies know this, and they have the ability to pay really smart people that see what's happening, that can read the digital tea leaves, and they are making decisions. And Hollywood is pissed. Warner Media chose to renegotiate many of its talent contracts that, like Miss Johansson's deal with Marvel, were tied to box office performance. Warner Brothers paid more than $200 million to talent as a part of amended agreements. Miss Johansson has been an integral part of the Marvel universe since appearing as Black Widow in Iron Man 2. Her presence has grown significantly since then as a member of the Avengers squad of heroes alongside Captain America and the Incredible Hulk. Her character died in the 2019 blockbuster Avengers Endgame, and the spin-off film in theaters now takes place before the events of that movie. According to the complaint, Miss Johansson's representative sought to negotiate her contract after learning of the dual release strategy for Black Widow, which she said is her 9th and last Marvel movie. Disney and Marvel were unresponsive, the suit said. The decision to put the movie on Disney Plus is projected to cost Miss Johansson more than $50 million. A person familiar with the details of her contract claim. Even before the pandemic, Ms. Johansson was concerned that Black Widow could end up on Disney Plus as a month-wide release in 2019. Ms. Johansson reached out to Marvel seeking assurance that Black Widow would have a theatrical-only release, according to the complaint. Back in the freaking day, in 2019, Scarlett was trying to figure out what was going on. In March 2019, email included in the suit, Marvel Chief Counsel Dave Gelsi said the release would be according to traditional theatrical model, adding, "We understand that should the plan change, we would need to discuss this with you and come to an understanding, as the deal is based on a series of very large box office bonuses." Okay, so that's literally in an email there that was coming from Disney, right? During its July 9th opening weekend, Black Widow grossed $80 million in domestic box office and $78 million overseas, and they generated another $60 million from $30 at-home purchases on Disney Plus. I wonder if they regret bragging about how much they made on Disney Plus, because Scarlett Johansson is pissed. Hella pissed. It was the first time Disney broke out a film streaming performance in such detail. Disney shares ticketed upward on the news that Monday, so they made money on their stock price as well. That's pretty interesting. The movie's theatrical performance fell in subsequent days more sharply than most Marvel films. Some analytics and executives in Hollywood questioned whether making the movie easy to watch at home would hurt box office results. The National Association of Theater Owners, a lobbying group of contributors, called the performance disappointing and anomalous, whatever that word means, and proof that the extensive theatrical releases were the most profitable approach. Internally, some executives at Disney worry that an at-home release harness the overall appeal of the Marvel brand.
There's a hurry. They've likely called in reinforcements.
Hollywood, over the past several years, Disney Marvel Studios has had unprecedented success in modern day Hollywood, including 24 titles that regularly collect more than $1 billion.
Several AIM units are guarding the area. They're transferring fuel to a nearby Quinjet. They're attempting to escape with some of the SHIELD equipment. Look for a chest with gear nearby.
Fascinating article. And that's the freaking Wall Street Journal, some whatever website thing out there. This is the Hollywood Reporter as it's a couple things pop up. First of all, dang, it's all happening. That this suit is happening while the movie is still in theaters, but just like we all know, Scarlett knows, it's over for Black Widow. It's over for Black Widow. It's never going to hit $400 million. She's not going to get bonuses and things that are included in that. And frankly, I find it crazy that Disney replied to her in 2019, but then just changed it and didn't reply to any of her inquiries about it. And again, for her to make such a big public statement about this, it's a big all comes down. It's all videos, they think they need to do. And Hollywood is trying to fight against this. Now, look, I 100% acknowledge that many people feel differently about this than I do. Many people think that the movie theater experience, the going experience, needs to be preserved at all costs, and that studios are making bad decisions for an entire industry. I personally that if it weren't for Marvel, Scarlett Johansson would have any sense of the career that she still enjoys. I do think that they should pay whatever contract. It is crazy that they wouldn't compensate her otherwise. But I think all of this kind of polishing the brass on the Titanic, my personal belief, is that it's just an impossible battle to win against every time. And even though the theatrical experience, I think, will still remain, it will be almost guaranteed to be permanently diminished, not only because of what happened in the 20s, but because of advances in games, in streaming, in YouTube content, podcasting, all of the different things that are fighting for people's attention. And the fact of the matter is, I don't think Hollywood kind of made a sort of castle on the hill of out of people. Yeah, I don't trust that group of people to come in and be happy about all the changes that happen. That's going to cut off all the wasteful spending in politics. Now, again, let me just say, I'm not taking necessarily side. It really seems, we don't know, but it seems like this false article that they read something that said they would, like the dude said, kill with me. Because obviously, and then it looks like Chanting came in and was like, nah, ma'am, we good. See ya. And she's like having to take people action. So I'm not saying she's right, but I think that she might feel pressure to be.
AIM is retreating to the main structure. Everyone heard that one. Gotta run them scared.
Their Quinjet is grounded. They've gathered the more valuable shield assets at a hangar nearby.
She's only
nice of them. Let's work for us.
There's like major incentives to do so. I don't even think in this case she'll probably get some more of that money back, which is great for her, for sure. But at the end of the day, she thinks this is Hollywood because of a lot of other forces at play that are trying to force Disney to play ball and be held accountable to whole like ways of doing things in paradigms. Again, I'm no like simp for Disney. They do shady stuff all the time. This is another example of them doing shady stuff, for sure. Just the Scarlet Johansson tag is that disclose and change things and stuff like that. But at the same time, I can't help but think that the Pandy was this. It literally was what the Hand of God things in contract were made for. Like you have this sort of out in those big contracts that's called like Event of God or Hand of God or whatever. It's like that. There's a clause in most contracts that like if the most ridiculous, absurd things happen, like the global panty, then you can get out of a contract that way. And so I don't know.
We'll follow your lead.
I think it was nothing big thing when they were like, hey man, Andy, it is what it is. We had to try to make our money. We're accountable for our shareholders. This is what we got to do, and legally I think we're safe.
Avengers! We figured you'd be doing Hill's dirty work. Taskmaster's mercenaries.
What are they doing here?
Protecting the base, it seems.
Get rid of them.
As I was saying, we're having an awesome day.
Their leaders. With Taskmaster's mercer gone, they'll force a retreat.
You think a few trucks will help you?
Yeah,
Shield is nothing. It will always be nothing.
Sounds like you're getting desperate.
Let me show you how it's going. My friends, oh my god!
Stay secure. Nice work, everyone. Secure the perimeter. Look out for any stragglers. Thank you, Avengers. With this, we stand a fighting chance, finally. We're back, Fury.
Meeting local people takes you from being an outsider to friendly.
Where to next?
We make USAA credit cards for members like them. You know somebody's time to
Thanks again. AIM will be back, but we'll be ready for them. I'm not sure how Taskmaster is involved in all this yet. He doesn't do anything for free. I've got some digging to do. I'll be in touch.
Welcome back to New Rockstars.
Until
Is
then,
Gamora
job well
a
done.
variant fugitive being hunted by the TVA after Endgame, according to Loki's timeline logic? Who else ain't where they're supposed to be in this cinematic multiverse? What about that Flurkin? The ghost is loose! This is Rogue Theory, the show where we pitch the wildest theories for the nerdy titles that we love. I'm Eric Voss. Going rogue with me today is the man who puts the ass in the man in Mastertainment. Don't deny that you're an ass man. I see the way you look.
Oh man, I am a major ass fan, dude. I live as an ass man. I just come to ass in general, to be honest with you. But no, major ass man here. Gotta love good posterior.
Also with us, writer, actor, good friend of the show, Marina Mastros.
Hi! Also an ass man, incidentally enough.
Ooh, ass man squad! I'm just making games now.
That is the thing we all have in common. Comedian and host of the Mass Effect Adventure podcast, Matt Acevedo.
Yay! And I am also known as America's Ass Man.
It's the Ass Effect, bro!
Completing that trinity of ass men jokes, Matt, you start off with the
nice work, buddy.
Laugh out of me. Guys, we gotta ask, why is Gamora? Because Loki director Kate Herron confirmed that Steve Rogers did create a branch timeline with Peggy Carter at the end of Avengers Endgame, and thus would have probably been the pruning target. I got a whole other video coming out tomorrow that's going to explain how that makes sense, and if it does, and the full implications we can draw from that. But it does confirm a suspicion many of you have asked us about since Loki Episode 1, other possible variants in the MCU, specifically Gamora. Remember, in Avengers Endgame, her 2014 self traveled with the whole Thanos crew to the present day, and all of them dusted away, but not her. She switched sides and was last seen walking away while everyone else took a knee to pay respect to Tony Stark. That was in a deleted scene, but I consider it canon, because why not? That should have happened, right? So, was Drax asking the right question from the beginning? Why is Gamora? Is the TVA actually hunting her? And beyond Gamora, what other variants do you think could still be loose in the MCU?
I think the TVA is definitely hunting Gamora, because she's definitely a loose factor. Like, she's not supposed to be in, 2023 now? Like, she's from 2014, and she's in 2023. And so I think that, with he remains being now gone and now not a factor anymore, that the TVA could actually go after this Gamora, who is not supposed to be there, because the person who's running the show is no longer there. So I think Gamora could be a really big target for the TVA.
Yeah, I think the question that a lot of us still have after Loki is, what exactly are worthy Nexus events that break people into these branch timelines? Is it their mere existence out of whatever their proper syncing of a timeline, or is it the fact that their timeline will inevitably lead to a Kang? I'm inclined to believe the latter, but can we make any arguments of how Gamora's existence in the modern day might lead to a future scientist Nathaniel Richards discovering time travel?
I mean, just the fact that she has access